Now that tax day is behind us, scammers are looking to take advantage of you, posing as the IRS, asking you to pay up. And while many of us may think the IRS would never call, that's not exactly true. Joining us this morning to help us decipher the difference between a scammer and the IRS is Aaron Duffner with Your Better Business Bureau. Good morning, Aaron.
Good to see you.
So first and foremost, the IRS will sometimes call people. Tell us about the program.
Well, consumers have been reporting to BBB that they've been getting scam IRS calls, and this has been going on for really decades. And so now that the IRS is really bumping up and beefing up its calls to people who owe on their taxes, it could be a little bit more difficult to distinguish, but the good news is the IRS has put in some rules and safeguards so that people can check to make sure that they really owe money if they get that call.
Okay, because it used to be back in the day, the IRS wouldn't really call you. They are we want people to know they are actually calling now. So how can you tell the difference between the actual IRS and a scammer?
Well, there are a couple of things. With the IRS and really any kind of collection agency, they should be sending you something in writing first. Maybe one letter, maybe two letters, maybe three letters. But if you do get that call from the IRS, a couple of things to keep in mind. You know, the scammers ask you for credit card information. They're very, very threatening. The IRS is not going to do that. In fact, the collection agencies that the IRS is working with are actually asking people to send their money directly to the IRS, not taking any credit cards, not asking you to get a debit card or wire any kind of money. So even though the calls will be made by a third party, you'll still be paying the IRS directly. And then certainly going to irs.gov, they have an entire new page that people can log into and see how much they owe. So people can verify that as well.
Yeah, and if you feel like you are the victim of one of these scams, what can you do?
Well, the first thing is to go to BBB Scam Tracker. You can take a look at other scams that may be reported specifically in your area, and then of course narrow that down to people who are reporting scam calls from the IRS. And also reporting that to the IRS directly is a great idea, just to make sure that they're aware, so that if you are late on your taxes or you do owe money, at least you have some record that you attempted to pay it, but you're really just afraid of these scam calls.
And so I think really it's a good rule of thumb. The IRS simply isn't going to ask you for money over the phone.
They're not going to ask you to pay them directly. They might call with reminder calls, and certainly, you know, they have to follow the rules for the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And so that talks about threats and times that they can call you. So you can really work on those calls. And if you do want to have the discussion, it might be good to have the call with the collection agency, because they'll have all the information, the rules, how you can set up payment plan. They might actually be able to give you some pretty good advice if you do owe your back taxes. So, you know, the good news is you might have somebody to help you. The bad news is just be sure that you're keeping your money where it belongs, which is in your pocket and away from the scammers.
All right, fantastic. Good advice. Thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us this morning. We'll be right back.